Let's find out about what got you into horror.
Okay. That's a pretty complex question.
Take it anywhere you want. Yeah, that's a vague question.
And no, I mean it's just big. I think there's a lot of things that I could probably trace my interest in horror to. I would say starting with first of all, Rosemary's Baby in let's see, I guess that was 68 or 69. I can't remember exactly now. So my dad was an Episcopalian minister, and so at the time, I mean, as you know from the film, they even reference the Time magazine cover. God is dead. It was kind of a thing that people were talking about, and of course, Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and all these other kinds of things that were coming out then were part of that same sort of wave, so to speak. Anton LaVey had started the Church of Satan in San Francisco, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I mean, obviously with Rosemary's Baby, it was a very high profile kind of thing. And my dad wanted to go to see the movie to find out what was the movie about, what was it like, and this kind of stuff. So I have three older brothers. I'm much younger than the rest of them by 7 years. In fact, by the next closest one is 7 years. So I was really young. I was like 4 years old. And so we all loaded into the station wagon to go to the drive-in. And I was supposed to be asleep in the very back of the station wagon while the rest of the family was in the front watching Rosemary's Baby. So of course I wasn't asleep. I was listening to this whole movie, and that's all I could do was listen to the movie. I couldn't see it. And there's a scene in the movie where the doctor tells Rosemary that her due date for the baby is June 28th, which is my birthday. So I promptly sat up and said, "That's my birthday." And everybody started cracking up because, of course, Mark was supposed to be asleep, and it's now obvious that I was not asleep at all. So anyhow, it's a very strange kind of experience to remember, especially when you think about hearing a movie instead of seeing it. And a movie like that also that is, got a lot of different things going on. So that for sure was something that stuck in my mind. This is also about the same time, 69, 70, that Monster Kid stuff was pretty big. Aurora Monster Models, the Warren magazines like Creepy and Eerie and Famous Monsters. And so the brother that is closest in age to me was, like about 12 or so, 13. So he was prime age for all of that Monster Kid stuff. And he had it all. He had all the Aurora models and all the Famous Monsters magazines and all that kind of stuff. So that was all in the bedroom we shared. And so that was absolutely a presence, in my life, of course. Funny story, a thing that happened also in this kind of time period is my brother had this poster of Bela Lugosi as Dracula in his Dracula pose. And we had bunk beds in the room, and he had the top bunk and I had the lower bunk, and he had the Bela Lugosi poster above his top bunk, but by his head. And one night, the poster came loose from the wall and slid down the wall behind the bed and lodged into the position directly behind my head. But of course, it also made this horrible scratching sound. So I woke up to this sound of, and I woke up and turned around, and of course, it was Dracula right over my bed, and I screamed bloody murder, and had quite an experience with that. So that also being scared, and then this is when Night Gallery was coming onto television, and my parents had been big fans of The Twilight Zone. And so when they heard that Rod Serling had a new TV show, they were very interested in that. So we all gathered around the television as a family to watch Night Gallery. And of course, that's something else that would be a big influence on me. Just that kind of storytelling, that particular show, the Rod Serling persona. I mean, really kind of that's how I came into the Twilight Zone later when it was in syndication. So you take all of that stuff so far, and then my father died when I was very young. He died when I was 6. And so suddenly I'm in a funeral parlor, like looking at my father as they prepare him for the funeral. And then I'm going to the funeral, and then I'm going to the cemetery where he is being buried. And it's all of this kind of stuff that has been sort of on television or in movies and magazines, and suddenly it's this real thing in my life. And so I think kind of all of that stuff really kind of cemented then the influence, if you will, or the interest, and all of that kind of stuff, and really kind of made horror a thing for me, let's put it that way.